Hello, and welcome to the Gamer's Closet. I'm your host, Douglas Weed, and today we're going to be talking about Game of the States. Game of the States is a game manufactured in 1940 by Milton Bradley. Here I have the 1960s edition, which has Hawaii and Alaska included, because the original copies didn't. The game runs for about 30 minutes of game time, is rated for ages 8 and up, and is rated for 2 to 4 players. But let's dig into it a little further, shall we? Game of the States is a highly entertaining and educative game. It teaches the location of each of the states, their state capitals, its important industries, and products which the players can buy and sell. The object of the game is to buy a product in one state and haul it on a truck to another state where you try to sell it for a profit. The player who has the most money at the end of the game is the winner. The game has been released in multiple editions, again in 1987, again in 2004. The original print was created in 1940 where you didn't have Alaska or Hawaii available. It has also been identically produced in India, where you get to play Game of the States with the Indian states or provinces. The game runs exactly the same. It has the same exact features. Again, it's just with India. But the counter system, instead of dollars, is in rupees. This game does come with multiple pieces. It comes with 50 state cards, each containing the name of a state and valuable information pertaining to it, 4 delivery trucks, each in 4 colors, 16 product discs, 4 of each color for their matching trucks, $20,000 in play money, and a double spinner. To set up this game, each player is given a truck and 4 product discs of the same color. They are also given $5,000 in play money, 8 $500 bills and 10 $100 bills. The state cards are shuffled and placed face down in a pile on the board near main. Each player in turn draws 4 state cards and places 1 product disc of their color in each of these states. The cards are then placed on the bottom of the pile. Each player now draws 1 move card and starts their truck in that state. The player spinning the highest on the red dial with large numbers 1, 2, or 3 go first. Each player in turn selects a state containing an opponent's product disc, usually the nearest one, and moves their truck towards it by spins of the red dial. The moves are made from state to state, each state counting as 1 space. A truck does not have to land on its destination by exact count. Please note, in order to include them on the game board, the states of Alaska and Hawaii are located near the west coast than they would be on a regular map. Alaska is counted as 1 space from Washington, the state through which all trucks must pass to travel to and from this northern state. Hawaii is counted as 1 space from California, the states through which all trucks must pass through to and from this island paradise. Trucks may move into any state regardless of whether or not there is another player's truck or product disc resting there. Upon reaching the state containing an opponent's disc, the player asks its owner which product they have for sale. If they don't recognize a product shown in the state, they can find it pictured and named in one of the squares on the margin of the board. The player who is buying the product then spins the blue money dial and tells the opponent, the seller, that they will pay them the price on the dial. If the opponent feels the price is right, the player, who is the buyer, pays them that amount of money, puts the disc in their truck, and immediately draws another card, which designates the state to which the product must be delivered. On their next turn, the player moves their truck with the product disc in it by the spins on the dial towards their new destination. It does not have to arrive there by exact count. On arriving at the delivery state, the player now sells the product back to the opponent from which they bought it. The opponent spins the blue dial and pays the player that amount. They then place the disc on the corresponding product shown on the margin of the board, thus ending that turn. Here's an example of how that works. The blue truck starts in Ohio and travels by spins of the dial to Florida where there's a red disc. The red player, who's the seller, says that they have oranges for sale. The blue player buys and spends $500, paying the red player that amount. and draws the State of Maine card. They then move their truck with the load of oranges on it to Maine. Now the red player, the original owner, spends $800 on the dial, which they pay the blue player, now the seller. The red disc is then placed in the square marked oranges on the margin of the board. On their next turn, the player moves their truck towards another opponent's product disc as in the beginning of the game. All players in turn continue buying, delivering, and selling products until all of the discs have been removed from the map, which ends the game. The players now count their money, and the one having the most wins the game. There are 3 special rules in this game. When the spinner stops on the flat tire don't move, the player leaves their truck in that state until the next turn. Likewise, if broken down, lose a turn is spun, this truck remains in that state and they lose their next turn. If the truck is delivering a product disc when either of the above happens, the player must take that disc out of their truck and place it beside it, showing the other players that that truck is being repaired. If an empty truck of another player can reach the state containing the delayed truck in this turn, that player may place that product disc in their truck by paying the owner of the unlucky truck only $100. The new buyer completes the delivery and sells the product in the usual manner. If a player buys one of their own discs from an unlucky truck owner, they deliver the product to the designated state and then place it off the map on the corresponding product square with naturally no further payments necessary. If no other player is able to buy the product disc while the truck is disabled, the truck and product proceed as before after the repairs are made. The second rule is if towards the end of the game a player finds there are no opponent's discs left on the map to buy and there are discs of their own color still there, that player may move their truck by spins of the dial to a state containing one of their discs and place it in their truck upon arrival. They pay no money for the product, draw a destination state card, and proceed on their next turn to make the delivery. When the player's truck and product disc reach the designated state, each of their opponents must give them $200 as a special bonus to pay them for moving their own product. And finally, the third special rule, which is optional. To add zest to the game, the players may speculate, taking a chance when buying or selling. When a product disc is sold, the buyer always spins the dial to determine the selling price. If the player who is selling the disc feels that the price spun is too low, they may, hoping that they will get a better price, ask the buyer to spin the dial again. Now, whether the new price spun is higher or lower, the disc must be sold at the second price. Therefore, when a disc is sold by an opponent who is the seller to the player who is the buyer with a truck, the opponent, the seller, who owns the disc may use this rule. When the disc is delivered and resold to the opponent, the original owner, the player with the truck who is now the seller may use this rule. The state cards may also be used in playing a quiz game for any number of players. One player, acting as the quizmaster or teacher, holds the cards and asks the questions of the other players as, what is the capital of Kentucky? Or what state is called the Sooner State, etc. When a player answers correctly, they get the card and the player collecting the largest number of cards is the winner. Use only one fact on a card, such as capitals, for each game. Well, this has been an overview of Game of the States. Game of the States is a decent pick up and move game. It is a decent game for kids to pick up and learn. It's not very rules heavy and is still in print today, so you can find copies of it very, very easily online. The game goes anywhere from about $10 to $30. Depending on what edition you have, and like I said before, it has editions where it doesn't have Alaska or Hawaii in it. They have added other islands like Puerto Rico on some of the editions. It just depends on which edition you have. The games are about the same per edition. They don't change very much. Again, they just add additional states and additional features. So it makes the game a tad longer depending on which version you have. Like I said, the game is very easy to pick up. It's very kid-friendly. It's very easy to learn. It's not a very exciting game because it is a product movement game, but it is a very decent game for kids to learn on. And if you want to get into alternate systems of gameplay, since you're moving things around plus your roll, spin, and movement, it is a decent option for you. If you really want a decent game for a game night, I would probably find something else. But for what the game is, it's a decent game. It's very easy to learn, very easy to pick up, very easy to understand. So if you haven't played Game of the States before, I would recommend giving this game a try. Well, that's it from us here at the Gamer's Closet. We'd like to thank you for checking out our video on Game of the States from Milton Bradley. If there's a game in the future you'd like us to review or go over, please put it in the comments below. Please hit subscribe so that way you can be the first to check out our future content. And as always, please have a great gaming day.